Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to another tank review. This time we are looking at the first Japanese tank that was introduced into the game. This is of course the tier 5 premium medium Japanese tank, the Chinukai. As ever, a little bit of a historical rundown for you. Essentially, you had the Type 3 Chinu that the Japanese manufactured, but was only actually ever used for home defense, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, it was only ever used for home defense. It might have been capable of standing its ground against things like Shermans, but as it was, the Japanese kept them all on the home islands for defense. The Chinukai, the idea was that you take a Chinu, you remove the turret, and you slap on it a Chito, Type 4 Chito, turret and improved 75mm gun being the key point. They wanted a more powerful gun. There was only one of these things actually made, as far as I'm aware. It was only ever a prototype. And that's really all there is to say about it. I mean, it's one of those tanks that never saw any action, was never produced in enough numbers to do anything interesting, so there we go. What is it that we actually get in the game? Well, I'm not actually going to go through the grind, of course. This is a premium tank, so there isn't a grind, hence I'm not going to bother with it. We'll look at the armor profile in a bit, but you get 480 hit points, which for a tier 5 medium tank is there or thereabouts. Things like the Sherman, the T-34, they tend to have around the 450 mark, 480, perhaps a little bit above average, but then again you get tanks like the Panzer T-25 that have like 610, so go figure. 480 is okay for a tier 5 medium tank. Hull armor, 50 on the front, 25 on the side, 20 on the rear, turret 75, 50, 50. The armor on this tank is really not up to much. As I said, we will have a look at that in a bit more detail later on. It's a 21.5 tank with a rather disappointing 240 horsepower engine, giving this thing a positively, well, let's not mince words, pathetic specific power of 11 horsepower per ton. That would be poor for a heavy tank. This is a medium tank. 11 horsepower per ton is blech. Top speed of 38.8 kilometers an hour. Not that you're generally going to be going that fast. 16 in reverse, which is also not particularly impressive. 40 degree per second turret traverse, which is fine. Not going to worry too much about the concealment ratings. I mean, this isn't a light tank or a tank destroyer, so go figure. Spotting, well, your base view range is 350 meters, which is about par for the course for a tier 5 tank, so fine. And signal range, no one ever really got excited about signal range, so, I mean, what is it on this thing? 400, which is not fantastic, but honestly, who cares? The gun is what this tank is all about. And here it is. 75mm gun. Now remember, this was kind of the point of the tank, historically speaking, and this is the 75mm gun from the Chito, but before everyone gets excited, this would be the stock 75mm gun from the Chito, otherwise known as the fully upgraded 75mm gun on the tier 5 Type 3 Chinu. Yeah, anyway, 12 round a minute rate of fire, which is okay. 124 average penetration, which for a tier 5 medium tank is pretty good. 125 average damage for a tier 5 medium tank is just good. That is good. Premium ammunition, that penetration jumps up to 155, which is fine. HE rounds, 38 pen on the HE, 175 average damage. They're not bad, they're not too special, they're 75mm HE, it all pretty much looks the same. 0.3 dispersion at 100 meters is okay. Sorry, 0.37. 0.3 would be awesome. 0.37 dispersion at 100 meters is, it gets the job done, and that's about the best you can say about it. 2.3 second aim time is alright, but the soft stats, the aiming stats on this gun kinda mess you about. And in practice, this gun does actually take quite a long time to Aim. You can see here the stats with a 100% crew and the equipment I've got, and you get your DPM up to 1778. That could go a little bit higher, of course, with Brothers in Arms, which is alright. It's not the best at tier 5 for a medium tank, but it's okay. It's fine. I will quickly talk about the gun depression and elevation angles here. 20 degrees of gun elevation and a very disappointing 6.5 degrees of gun depression. And I say disappointing because if you've played any of the regular Japanese medium tanks, you'll know that they tend to get 10 degrees of gun depression, generally speaking. This does not. In fact, if you actually compare this machine to its regular tier 5 counterpart, the Chinu Kai gets, I think it's better traverse speed and better turret armor or something. Not that the turret armor on this tank is good, but I believe it's marginally better than the regular Chinu. But in exchange, it loses some gun depression and loses a bit of mobility. Yeah. Go figure. So things like crew skills and equipment and whatnot to have on this tank. Crew skills, I mean honestly, this is a premium tank. You shouldn't be picking up a crew specifically for this machine. So I am not going to talk about crew skills on this tank. Even if you're one of those people who's looking at it thinking, oh, maybe I want to pick this thing up, even if I'm not interested in the Japanese tech tree per se. Seriously, this thing is so similar to the regular tier 5 Japanese medium tank, the Chinu, you'd be better off just doing the short grind to tier 5 and picking up the Chinu. Don't pick up the so I'm not going to talk about the crew skills for this particular machine. It will be whatever your Japanese medium tank crew already have. Equipment, gun rammer, who wouldn't want a gun rammer? Vents, all rounds makes the tank better. Third equipment slot, well, it's tier 5, so you don't get a vertical stabilizer. Enhanced gun laying drive, maybe, because the aiming time, the effective aim time on the gun is really not great. Coated optics, I wouldn't bother. Your base view range is bad enough that coated optics are not going to make it fantastic. Binocular telescopes are what I tend to go for. Anything else that's really interesting? Nah, it's really either a gun laying drive or binos. Choose your pick of those two. Ammunition, this is where it gets slightly interesting. The Japanese, or this tank, in common with some of the other Japanese medium tanks, gets premium armor piercing. It's not APCR, it's not heat ammo, it's armor piercing. So you don't get some of the disadvantages associated with APCR or heat ammo. The premium ammo is just flat out better than the regular ammunition, but with only 155 penetration, that doesn't make it fantastic. 2,800 credits a pop. It's not cheap, especially given the regular ammunition is 82 credits. I don't remember ever firing a round of this premium AP, if I'm honest. I've got 3 rounds of HE. Occasionally it can be useful. 7 of premium AP and then 42 of regular armor piercing. The ammunition supply isn't particularly stingy on this tank, so feel free to take a variety of different shell types. There's nothing particularly wrong with that. And as long as you don't dip into your premium ammunition very much, this can be quite a profitable tank to run. Consumables, I've just got your standard first aid kit, repair kit, and fire extinguisher. I guess you could go for Onigiri if you really wanted to, or something like that, but it's only tier 5 at the end of the day, so I probably wouldn't recommend it. So that is kind of a very quick rundown of the Chinu Kai. Let's go and have a look at modules, armor, and gameplay. Module location time then, I don't want to labour this. You have got people in the locations you would expect to find them. So you have got driver, you've got commander, you've got radio operator, all that jazz in the regular spots. The only thing that's really of note here is that the ammo rack resides in this rear portion of the turret. It's a fairly common place for ammo racks to be, but probably worth bearing in mind. And of course, the rear of this tank, or rather I should say the rear of the hull of this tank, is made of engine and burny things. So if you want to set it on fire, try and shoot it there. If you want to ammo rack it, try and shoot it in the rear of the turret. That's about it. So let's go and have a look at the armor profile. Here we go then with the Chinukai. So we have got 20mm of armour on the rear of the hull, 50 on the rear of the turret as advertised, 20 on the side of the hull, and 50 on the side of the turret, so basically nothing on the rear or side of the hull, which means that you can't really angle this tank particularly well. And even if you try thinking you'll get an auto bounce angle, bear in mind any guns that are greater than 60mm in caliber, and this is tier 5, there are plenty of those, will completely overmatch your side armour, and there are little shoulder plates that will make themselves big obvious targets anyway. So angling this tank honestly is a bit of a waste of time. What about the frontal armour then? Front of the hull, well, 50mm, 50mm, there isn't any. Front of the hull is terrible. The best that armour's going to do is possibly bounce the odd, or not bounce, but possibly avoid you being penetrated by the odd high explosive shell here or there. Front of the turret, right, you have 75mm on the turret front itself. There's a little bit of angling going on, nothing to really get excited about. And you don't have good enough gun depression to really make much of it. So you might bounce some lower tier light tanks, and that's about all you can expect. From the gun mantlet, however, you have some regions that can get much higher. So 150 there, 150, 118. But you also have some regions that are not. 75 there, 75 there. So the gun mantlet can bounce things depending on what the thing is, but it does also depend on where they hit you. And of course, if you are trying to hide most of your turret, there is of course this nice big commander's cupola for people to shoot at. It's still 75mm thick, so it's not actually a weak point per se, but the fact that it's sitting on top of your turret can mean that people can shoot it before you shoot them sometimes, so do be aware of that. Right, time for some gameplay. Here we go then, tier 5 match, so top tier to kick things off. We are in an assault match here on Sam River, and we're on the attacking team, so we have to go over and take that base off of the bad guys. Now this is, or both of these matches are going to be from patch 9.17, so bear in mind this is before they fiddled around with the matchmaker. Okay, nonetheless, the performance you see from this tank in both of these games, one top tier and one bottom tier, as ever, should be pretty indicative of how you can expect this tank to perform. And bear in mind, this tank, unlike some premiums, does not get limited matchmaking. And I can't really think of a reason why it should, but just to say that it doesn't. So it will see tier 7 matches. Anyway, with that said, we are being a little cautious here. The Chinukai, as you can see here, is not the fastest tank in the world. So you're not really going to be able to rush forwards into a position, get some sweet spotting done and all of that jazz most of the time. If you do manage to find a spotting location, it's probably going to be a relatively conservative, passive spotting location. But most of the time you're probably going to end up playing second line support. Speaking of which, Panzer 4D away in the distance, and there we go. 0.37 dispersion at 100 meters, that target was 510 meters away. It was good enough to get the job done. Bear in mind, by the way, the crew I'm using in this tank at this point is a bit naff, and I don't have sixth sense. So that's something worth bearing in mind. Now, not every shot is going to go where you aim it like that. That particular one did, which was great, but bear in mind they're not all going to go like that. So far we've put one shot into the bad guys and they've lost that tank that I was shooting. Managed to spot out a KV-1, oh dear. In a straight up fight between you and a KV-1, the KV-1 is just going to giggle and destroy you. So don't get in a straight up fight with a KV-1. That is a bad plan. Oh hello. Hopefully I'm not going to get shot in the side here. Hey, he misses. Managed to spot out a Panzer 4H into the bargain, which is nice. And here you're going to see that gun depression, 6.5 degrees. I'm really having to force this in order to shoot at this guy. And I don't want to give him too much time to aim at me because my armor isn't fantastic. And he actually is using the howitzer and firing armor piercing, and he bounces. But I do get slapped by artillery and a tank destroyer and lose a bit of health. Now, there you could see a couple of shots I took that were not fully aimed. I didn't have time to fully aim them, and they just missed. One of them I spent a little bit of time aiming, certainly, but they still just missed. Hello, Mr. KV-1. That one, however, did hit the mark. And here's that 125 odd penetration coming in for you. That one bounced. I'm not aiming these. I should reload before he does, into the lower plate. And that's perfectly fine for going to the front of tier 5 heavy tanks, especially if you know how to aim. And we'll just casually take out that Panzer IV-H into the bargain. One into the front of that KV-1, and I can afford to take a shot from him if I have to. His front plate is pretty heavily angled, but still capable of going through, and that's not firing premium ammunition or anything, that's good old-fashioned armour piercing. And that is one of the nice things about this gun. It does have some good penetration going for it, for a tier 5 medium tank. So you can do stuff like that. So there was kill number 2. The scoreline is 8-3. Our team is very much in the driving seat for this game, which is nice. 10-3. Sorry, I stand corrected. And I mean, this game is essentially over. It's just a matter, or should just be a matter, of mopping up the last few guys who are around, trying to get a little bit more damage done, and all of that jazz. Speaking of getting a little more damage done, there's one of the relatively new Swedes. You can see how long it took me to aim, but once I'd hit him, he's only tier 3, my gun shaves off half his health, and he dies to the artillery in the end. So that leaves 4 of them remaining. 2 of them are, of course, arty, 1 Panzer IV-H, and the IKV-72. That M37 is whole kinds of screwed. He's probably going to get derped in the face by a Panzer IV or something like that. So we decide to hook it left. Oh, no, there's the IKV. Can we shoot the IKV? Come on, aim, 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 and he just gets nuked. Okay, so Panzer IV-H and M41 HMC. This, I believe, is the same Panzer IV-H I was shooting at earlier on. He hasn't really done a great deal of much. There we go. He's looking the wrong way, and one into the side of him. Can we pick up the kill? Yes, we can. Kill number 3. And that just leaves the artillery, who's away on the other side of the map. We are never, ever, in a million years, gonna beat a Panzer I-C to the artillery. Having said that, who knows? Maybe the Panzer I-C will get himself blatted in the face. No. Well, the Churchill kills the artillery anyway. And that is the match. So, let's go and have a look at the stats for this one. That was enough for second class mastery, shellproof, fire for effect, and bruiser ribbons. We came third on our team, 820 damage done, 3 kills, 670 base experience, which was not too shabby. It wasn't a particularly taxing game, but it ended going alright. 14 shots fired, 11 hits, 9 penetrations, for that 820 damage, most of which was from under 300 meters. 3 hits received, 1 penetrated, 2 did not. 510 damage blocked by our armour. Now, just a quick note on that, that is more than you can ever expect to get. One of those was a lucky bounce from an AP shell from the Panzer IV's derp gun, so that's like 400 damage blocked straight off the bat. So don't expect your armour to do much in general. 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 5 damaged, 3 destroyed, 202 assistance damage, 2 kilometers travelled, and you can see there ammunition costs 1,148 credits. Nothing particularly bank breaking there. 506 credits to to repair our vehicle, and even with a standard account we made over 20,000 credits in profit. That would have been about 32,000 credits with a premium account. It's tier 5. You can make some money, and that was only a 6-minute match. Didn't exactly take us forever. So, let's go and have a look at some less favourable matchmaking. Another assault game, then this time we are defending rather than attacking, and this time we are on the Siegfried line rather than Sam River. And this time we're bottom tier rather than top tier. But apart from that, the two games are clearly the same. No idea what point I was trying to make there. Anyway, if we have a quick look at the tanks available to both teams, we can see that there is 1 artillery on each team, a few light tanks, a small number of medium tanks, 4 heavies, and quite a few tank destroyers. Which is interesting. Now, we actually have more tank destroyers, which, over the years, I've come to become very wary of. Tank destroyers as a class have kind of been a bit battered, and the maps don't tend to favour them, especially the more fragile tank destroyers. So, I've personally, and this is completely anecdotal, I don't have statistics to back this up or anything, but I've started to see having tank destroyers on your team is kind of a bit of a bad thing. But there we go. Anyway. There are 4 tier 7s on each team as well, by the way. So this is not just like there is 1 tier 7 and it's only artillery, so we're never going to have to worry about shooting that or anything along those lines. Taking up a position from which hopefully we can provide some supporting fire and get shots onto people. No joy on that Berlin Cromwell, however. SU-122-44 has made it into the base, which is not a particularly good thing, and there's an AMX-12T, appears to be looking in my general direction. Take a snapshot, get a bit lucky, hit him, hurrah. And there's the KV-3, stock turret, but nah, still no joy. He's turning his turret to the side, however, so this shot we will bother to fully aim, pretty much. But the shot still won't go where we want, and we will still bounce. We take 1 hit from the AMX-12T there, who takes our gunner out, so we have to put our gunner back in. And now the AMX-12T has gone full something. And we put a shot in to try and help out our KV-85 there, and the AMX-12T ends up dying for it. So a pretty good start. We have lost a friendly AMX-12T, and in exchange we've claimed a Grilla. Sorry, that's a lie. We've claimed a KV-3, their AMX-12T, and a KV-1S. So far, that is a pretty good trade. Trying to see if I can help this ARL out. It would really help the ARL if he didn't just show people his flat side armour. Spoiler alert, tank's strongest armour, generally speaking, at the front of the tank. Who'd have thunk? Cromwell Berlin, put 1 shot into him, hoping I can put a second in before he gets somewhere safe, but alas, no, didn't quite reload in time, and that ARL 44 is no more. Still winning 5-3 though, so that's not the end of the world, and still trying to make myself useful, and here you can see the kind of underwhelming mobility. But we see that Cromwell Berlin coming and manage to ambush a shot into him as he is crossing that gap. Don't want to stay here though. They do have artillery, and that Cromwell Berlin is probably not going to try that gap once again. Hopefully, well, I imagine he got the memo the first time when he got shot. But he does poke his nose out there and does eventually end up dying to the E25. So, grand. 8-7. A lot of our tanks are getting the ever-loving stuffing beaten out of them though. And I'm trying to make myself useful here, and this is where the mobility is being a bit of a pain. Just don't have the mobility to go exactly where I'd like, so instead I'm just having to, well, be useful where I can. So we managed to track this A43 more by accident than design, but I'll take it. Put a couple of shots into him, and some people shoot him while he's tracked, and he is dead. Scoreline is 9-7. 9-8, and now we have an IS who does appear to be, nope, not looking this way. When he's not looking this way, we're going to see if we can put, oh god no, shots into him. His shot has flubbed. We should reload before he does. Ah, but he appears to be using the stock 85mm gun, though there you can see the decent penetration. When we're able to hit a flat surface, even on the front of his tank, that went through. When, however, it wasn't a flat surface and he was angled, then it became a bit trickier. Scoreline is 9-9. So we have unfortunately lost our early lead, which is a bit annoying and a bit worrying. T67, 1 into him. Managed to kill him. Oh, we bounce a shot from the KV-85. Nice and lucky there. Where did that shot seem to go? Can we see? Oh, right. Off the side of the turret there. So that was just an auto bounce angle. 50mm of armour. Bounce the 100mm shell from him. Auto bounce angle, fair enough. And now we're just trying to find a better position. I can't stay there and get artilleried all day long. The problem is I don't really have the mobility to effectively go somewhere else. So this is really awkward. No idea what some of our team members are doing. We're now back to 2 tanks up though, however. Someone's apparently complaining about what our Tiger 1 is up to, and there I make a mistake. Remember I mentioned that there's that commander's hatch poking out the top of your turret? Yeah. This IKV was able to see me coming before I was able to shoot him. Bit of a shame. There we go. I probably should have relocated along the ridgeline a little bit so that I wasn't popping up in a similar sort of location. But I was really worried that if I spent the time relocating, that would have been time I wasn't shooting, and I thought at the time that my team needed me to do, well, some shooting. So let's just finish this game off. I'm going to speed it along a little bit because things start going decidedly pear-shaped. We're now losing by 1 tank. Type 64 is going around the long side. Tiger here has quite a lot of his health remaining, so this guy could carry this match as long as he doesn't get unlucky and doesn't play like a wombat. He is currently driving straight towards the IS. He misses his shot. He takes 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits. IS is almost dead. IS kills the IKV and then kills the Tiger. And that just leaves the Type 64 running around trying to do something against this IKV. And at this point, I mean, good luck to the Type, but he is currently rather outnumbered, rather outgunned, rather outmatched. They're capping our base, and if he's going to reset, he really needs to get a wiggle on with this. So he pokes his head up, puts some more shots into the IKV, and yeah, he's getting shot in the bum, and there we go, the enemy cap. And that's the match. So, not a particularly great ending for that game, but I thought I'd show you the ending anyway, just so you can see how a full health Tiger manages to make a bit of a hash of that. Anyway, post-game stats. Here we are then. So we have got, well, obviously it was a defeat, but we still managed to pick up 3rd class mastery and fire for effect, and that's without any heroic resistance or anything like that. So we did okay. We actually finished on the top of our team by experience, 1032 damage done. Commiserations to the E25, almost 2000 damage. Type 64, 1300. Yag Panther, 1600. And that Tiger, well, he only made 462. And still finished in the top half of the team. Oh dear. Enemy team, that IS managed 1600 damage and 4 kills. Well done to him, especially when you consider he was not fully upgraded. I think he was using the diddy little 85mm gun from the T-34-85. Match ended up being won by the pair of IKVs. But nonetheless, let's focus on our performance because it's the Chinukai we're interested in. 1000 damage, 1 kill, 507 base experience, plus a bit of bonus because it's a premium vehicle. That made it a total of 710 experience with 25 free XP thrown into the bargain. 17 shots fired, 14 hits, 9 penetrations for that damage count of just over 1000. We managed to get really lucky and bounce 1 shot at an auto bounce angle. 3 hits received, 2 penetrated, 1 did not, and we died. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 5 damaged, 1 destroyed, 619 assistance damage from tracking, can't remember who it was, but, oh, the A43 I think. And a 21,500 credit profit even with a standard account. Once again, this can be a reasonably profitable little machine for you, and that was in just a shade over 5 minutes for the match. So, still a respectable result from the Chinukai, even if we ended up losing. Time to go and have a quick look at things back in the garage then. So what are my overall thoughts on the Chinukai? Well, you might have picked it up throughout the course of this video. I'm not a huge fan of this machine. It's not that it's a particularly bad tank. The tank itself is okay, but it's so similar to the regular tier 5 Chinu that I'm not really sure why you'd bother. Oh, and what Wargaming did was they released this as the first Japanese tank in the game. So some people bought it, trained up a crew ready for the new tech tree, then they introduced the new tech tree, and the regular tier 5 was very, very similar, almost a copy-paste job. And I would argue the regular tier 5 is actually better, because the ways in which the Chinukai is better than the regular Chinu are irrelevant, basically. And the ways in which the Chinu are better than the Chinukai is relevant. The better mobility and the better gun depression. That's really a clincher here, because you play this tank as a support tank. And support tanks without gun depression, they can be really frustrating. So, do I recommend this tank? Well, if you have no interest in Japanese tanks whatsoever, no. But if you're one of those people, you're probably not looking at this tank particularly interested anyway. If you are interested in the Japanese tech line and you are looking for a crew trainer, sure, why not? It's tier 5, it doesn't cost you much money. How much does this cost you? It is a grand total of 1,500 gold. And down here at tier 5, you get 30% and 50% discounts. Not all the time, but regularly enough that you should be able to pick this thing up for like half price. So that's 750 gold. For 750 gold, if you want a crew trainer, sure, why not? It's a premium tank after all, so you can use it for that. It's not going to earn you masses and masses and masses of credits, because it doesn't get that enhanced credit multiplier that you do at tier 8. So if you're looking for a tank that will train your Japanese medium tank crews and print money like it's going out of fashion, then the STA2, the tier 8, is probably the much better choice for you. But if you're not willing to splash out what is, let's say you bought the Chinu, you could buy the Chinukai for 750 gold. If you are not willing to splash out 10 times as much on the tier 8, and I can't really blame you if that's the case, then this is a perfectly decent little crew trainer, and even it does make some credits on the side as well. Just don't expect miracles from it. If you think of it as a slightly gimped Chinu, then you won't go too far wrong, I shouldn't think. It's all about the gun, it's not about the tank itself, because the tank itself is kind of not very good. But the gun at tier 5 is fairly decent. And that's really all there is to say about the Type 3 Chinukai. It's alright. And it can be a fun little tier 5 crew trainer. But, once again, just don't expect it to perform miracles. Don't try and go head to head with a KV-1 and expect to win. Or anything like that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the machine. So, I hope you guys found that review vaguely informative and or enjoyed it. I know, enjoying something on the internet, who'd have thunk. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel. And as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.